All right, happy Monday to you. Here we go, Module 3. You only have 7 modules, so Module 3, here we are. And I'll tell you, this is a very important module because we're getting into hypothesis testing. And that really is the basis now of what we'll do for the rest of our time is figuring out how to test the hypothesis. And really, the hypothesis is just a theory that you may have or a researcher has, like what we just did. I mean, let's talk about the correlation study that you just turned in regarding, let's take, for example, the study hours and GPA. You know, as a researcher, you think, well, if I study more, my GPA is going to go up, so I want to test that. So my hypothesis is, if I study more, my GPA will go up. And so you set it up, you have to write a null hypothesis and then an alternate hypothesis every time. You are setting up a null and an alternate, and null just means not. So you always start with, I really think that GPA will go up, but the null hypothesis says, if I study more, the GPA will not go up. And then the alternate says, if I study more, the GPA will go up. So then you're really doing your research testing, your hypothesis testing on the null, because it says it's not going to change. And so you do your testing, and your hope, I guess, as a researcher is that it will change, but you're testing the null that it's not going to change. And when that's all said and done, you either reject the null, saying that it is changing. You're rejecting it not changing. I know that's strange, but that's how it's done. Your null says it's not going to change, and you do the research and you collect the data and you run the statistics and it does change, then you reject the null, therefore accept the alternate that it did change. Well, in the example we did just over the weekend, which you guys turned in, you found out that it really didn't make a difference for those 40 people. I mean, that was just a small sample size. It doesn't represent a larger group at all. But for those 40, nothing really changed. So you would accept the null hypothesis that more study hours did not increase GPA, which probably typically is not the case. So really get a handle on what hypothesis testing is, because everything we do from now on will be about testing the hypothesis. And we'll use a lot of different statistical tests to do that. And it's all predicated on the variables, how many variables you have. So as we move forward through the modules, you really also need to have an understanding of dependent variables and independent variables. And then you'll see soon that we'll also get into some other factors. So just for sure, understand independent variables, what may cause the change in the dependent variable. So I think you're all doing great so far. So as always, email me if you have questions. I got one just now and was able to make an adjustment. So email me anytime and have a great week. Thanks.